Hello, and welcome to today's Monday Monologue. I'm coming to you from Pangna on a little mini vacay in the middle of a beautiful mangrove forest in their national park, which is not only a beautiful setting for today's Monday Monologue, but is actually enabling me to pause, which is a little bit linked, a tiny bit linked to what I want to talk about today, which is this feeling of overwhelm and overexposure. So I want to ask you, how many times do you catch yourselves in what feels like a state of overwhelm? Now, I ask you that because I found myself feeling that way more recently when I actually slowed down and looked at it. I probably wasn't feeling overwhelmed in the same ways as I have before. That's because I know that there wasn't a huge amount to do. There was nothing that really felt out of control, and I wasn't under too much pressure, even if I was putting myself under it. I just felt something different in my own body. And the typical symptoms that I personally get with anxiety, when I finally got round to journaling on them, which is a practice I'm trying to reintegrate, what came up wasn't necessarily overwhelm, but overexposure. I think I'm overexposed. I don't have a huge amount of responsibility, just potentially too much input. What I mean by that is that there's probably too much coming in without enough space for it to go anywhere, which is where experiences and places like this help. We'll get into that in a moment. Things like moving around, conversations, meeting people, energy, what's happening in the world, what's in the palm of our hands, like our phone. They don't necessarily come one at a time, but they have layers, and your system isn't necessarily able to close itself between these layers in different moments. It just stays slightly open, taking more and more in. At some point, your system is quietly saying, that's enough now, okay? You still function, you still show up, you still do what you need to do, but you're just not fully in it, not fully present. I guess you can be slightly ahead of yourself or slightly removed from yourself. I think this is the bit that many of us don't always recognize. We're quite good at naming overwhelm. We don't really clock when we're carrying too much that hasn't actually been processed. In yoga, there is this idea of samskara. And this is this idea that there are small imprints left on our body and our minds by experience. Now, these aren't necessarily big dramatic things. They are just the residue of living. It can be conversations, moments, emotions, things you've seen, things you've felt, things you might have even liked or saved on Instagram or just scroll past. They have to go somewhere. They land somewhere. If there isn't space for them to move, they really don't disappear, just sit. Neuroscience points to something very similar. Your nervous system is constantly taking things in and trying to complete them. What I mean by that is it's trying to close the loop, make sense of it, integrate it. That doesn't happen instantly. If you keep adding more before that process has finished, these loops stay open. So what you end up with, I guess, is this backlog in your system, which is why you can feel wired and tired both at the same time. You can feel distracted, even when there's nothing that's really pulling your attention. It can also be things like slight disconnect without any obvious reason. And I guess something I noticed in myself, which I think is quite telling, is that my instinct wasn't to take something away. It was to add something in, to regulate it, to move it, to breathe through it, to do something with it. And yes, those things have their place, but there's a point where even that in itself becomes more input, more doing, more effort, more direction on a system that's already holding quite a lot. So even if you are undertaking breath work or journaling or a yoga practice, nothing is settling. It just keeps circulating. Obviously, this isn't for everyone. I think this is where we get it slightly off sometimes. We try to regulate by adding more. And that puts more pressure on us. More breath work, more tools, more practices. But if your system is already full, another technique isn't always what it needs. Sometimes it needs less. That famous saying, less is more. Now, in yoga, there's this understanding that stillness isn't something to force. That stillness is what's left when there's less disturbance. And that's the shift I've had to make this week. I say I've had to. I've wanted to. Not looking for a fix, which is really difficult, but asking, where can I stop adding to it? Let things land. For a few minutes. No phone, no music, no trying to change how I feel. just sitting long enough for my system to catch up with where I actually am. Because that's what overexposure does. Overexposure pulls you slightly ahead of yourself. It can feel like you're here, but your system is still processing everything from before. So, I guess if there's anything to take from this, it's not another practice, it's a pause. So I'm going to ask you to pick one thing today that you don't need to take in. Don't replace it with something better. Just leave the space. Even if it feels a little bit uncomfortable, because that discomfort is often just everything settling back into place. You might find that what you thought was overwhelm was really just your system asking for a moment to catch up. So let me know how you get on. Even share the one thing that you're choosing to not need to make space to pause for today. Have a great week. Take care of yourselves. Take care of others. And I'm going to chill now in this beautiful space and take my pause. Namaste.